Hey guys, Dave Keller here with Market Misbehavior. I love to ask people what their one chart would be. So if you had one chart besides just the S&P 500, one read on the markets, one thing that would be a key chart to tell you how you should be thinking in the short term, what would it be and why? So today, my one chart is a chart of commodities. So I'm going to show you the GSG, which is the GSCI Commodity Index Trust. So it's sort of like the CRB or the Bloomberg Commodity Index. There's a number of different ways you can measure commodity performance overall. And this is the one that I like to use, the GSG. And what's interesting about this chart of commodities, you have this rotation from distribution to consolidation to accumulation. It's sort of the phases that I like to think about. So a distribution period, which really accelerated the fourth quarter of 2018, reversed the first quarter of 2019, but then we sort of settled into this downtrend and using the high from October of 18, connecting that to April of 2019. We sort of tested that a number of times, had a false breakout there in September, but then finally broke through it in October. And then if you look, this sort of feels like a big basing pattern. If you go from, sort of mid 2019 to where we're at now, we sort of have this range between 1460, 1620 or so. And now what we've seen at the end of last year, the last couple of weeks, we had finally a rotation to the upside, breaking out of that range. And if you do the traditional sort of measurement technique, which is you take the height of the base, which is about 1460 to 1620, that gives you an upside objective up around here, which is sort of that congestion range, that supply area you had back in 2018. So it seems to be, sort of a symmetrical measurement based on the breakout that we've seen. The reason why this is my one chart is though in the last couple of days, we've seen a severe pullback in the chart of gold, a lot of the commodities, oil, obviously, coming down because of news with, US-Iran challenges and so forth. But again, I'm focusing just on the charts. The chart now has the price is pushed back into that range bound. So the reason why this is my one chart is one of two things is going to happen. Either we resume this uptrend. This is a bit of a pullback, a pause that refreshes before we go push the next leg higher and break meaningfully out of this range, or we settle back into this sort of range-bound environment. And I think whatever happens there has implications for emerging markets versus developed markets, for a lot of stocks and industries that are really tied to the commodity complex. Also globally, things like Australia and Latin America, others that are really tied to commodities. So I think we're at a really important juncture. That breakout has sort of broken now. We've come back in that range. Do we see a continuation or not? If you ask me what I would guess, my assumption would be we see a resumption of that uptrend. I think we're pulling back in, going to consolidate and go higher. The way that I would confirm that that's the case is looking at the RSI at the bottom. And in a bullish phase, the RSI tends to find a bottom around 40. It doesn't go meaningfully below there, and then it kind of resumes higher. So on this pullback, that's what I'd be looking for, whether or not it breaks below that key 40 level. So that's my one chart for today on Thursday, January 9th. If this sort of thinking about investor behavior routines and decision-making processes is of interest to you, I hope you'll hit subscribe, hit the little bell to get notifications on my new videos, and check out my other videos on the Market Misbehavior channel. Thanks so much.